graduate school was such a wonderful refuge from the real world. I could play in the laboratory all day. I could do statistical analysis for hours on end. I could develop these beautiful mathematical models until the break of dawn. Hey, look, I like math. You know, the logic and the lack of ambiguity in the answers for my models and my differential equations was very comforting for me. It kind of let me ignore the Vietnam War that was raging. It helped me to ignore this obligation of military service that I was facing. See, I've been able to put that off through a student deferment for years. But that kind of came to an end when I got my PhD in the summer of 1970. I was clearly going to need a new strategy. So, I did some research. And I found out that the Army was offering a special program for PhDs in the medical sciences. I would be an officer. The only problem was I had to agree to serve for 6 years. Now, my legal military obligation was only for 2 years. So, you know, PhD, do analysis, do a optimization analysis, right? Let's see. 6 years in the Army as an officer, working in the field that I had studied, or carrying a rifle for 2 years in the jungles of Vietnam. You know, I didn't need my PhD. It was all that. So I sent in my application, was accepted, got my orders to report to the big medical center in Denver, Colorado. I was going to be managing a clinical research laboratory. Whoa! I thought I was hot stuff, I got to tell you. I had on my fancy new tailored uniform, my shiny brass captain's bars. Well, I'll tell you, I got there and I found out that at this medical center, captains were at the bottom of the officer hierarchy. Oh man. In the first few weeks I was there, all my fantasies, one by one, crashed and burned against the brick wall of reality. After a while, I realized that rational thinking and the Army were like oil and water. They never mixed. Let me give you an example. One of the duties, extra duties that I had to do as a captain was to do the nighttime administrative management of the hospital, the whole hospital. Nighttime. What did they call this? Officer of the day. Officer of the day. Not officer, okay, officer of the day. Anyway, it sounded like a pretty complicated thing to have to do, a lot of stuff I had to know. I was pretty nervous. So when my name came up on the roster, I decided I was going to go to the adjutant's office and read up on all of the regulations so I'd know what to do. So I walk into the adjutant's office and he looks at me and he says, "Really? Well, there they are. Have fun." I walk over to the bookshelf and there's 3 10-centimeter thick notebooks. I mean, they're so heavy I can't even pick one up with one hand. I take 2 hands, you know, boom, and I'm flipping the pages over. There are things in there covering every conceivable situation you can think of. There was even a page in there, honestly, there was a page in there telling me what I was supposed to do if the Secretary of the Army called in the middle of the night and announced the start of nuclear war. Well, it was pretty clear no way I was going to learn all this stuff. So I said, well, I'll just focus on the table of contents. See, then if something comes up, I'll know where to find it. Logical? Yeah, logical. Didn't help the queasy feeling in my stomach at all. Time comes for me to show up for my officer of the day duties. I walk to my station, grizzled old sergeant there stands up, salutes me, wishes me a pleasant evening, and heads out the door. I'm standing there looking at him, and I tell you, it's all I can do to say, no, please, don't leave me here alone. But I didn't. I watched him go. So I sit down at the front desk, try and look like I know what I'm doing. Well, I guess maybe I should do an inspection tour of the hospital. 8 floors, 4 wings on each floor, right? So I go walking through with my clipboard, trying to look as official as I can. I have no idea what I'm supposed to be observing, but by golly, there I am. I kind of went a little quickly past the wards that were filled with badly injured soldiers from Vietnam. Didn't want to know about that so much. I go back to my station, down on the main floor, and I watch people come in and go out. A little bit boring, huh? The highlight of the night was when somebody came and asked me for directions. But you know what? I was able to tell them, and I didn't even need to check the regulations. Well, about 11:30, I was getting kind of sleepy, and the officer of the day didn't have to stay awake the whole time. They just had to be available, okay? So there was a bed provided there, and so I crawled into bed, and I fell into this kind of fitful sleep. Ring! God, I jump, and I turn on the lights, and I look at my watch, and it's almost 3 o'clock in the morning. I pick up the phone. Death in 409. What do you say to someone? Hello? Yes, I'll be right up. Oh my God. What do I do? I have this vision of some soldier with his leg blown off with a landmine, and he's dying. I don't need to look in the regulations to know there's nothing there that's going to tell me. What do I say to a sobbing mother, a grieving wife? But I have to go to room 409. There's no other choice. So, when you're overwhelmed, you just kind of focus on some little thing. Well, there's going to be a body there. I'll need to know the regulations, tell me what to do with the body. So I grab those out of the book, stick them in my clipboard, and head for the elevator. When I get to the 4th floor, it's absolutely empty. There's nobody there. I walk down to room 409. I put my hand on the door handle. There's no sound. Take a deep breath. Walk into the room. There's nobody there except the corpse. It's an old man with bony arms, hands, and the skin, that pasty white of death. I kind of look away, and I figure, okay, now I just need to make a checklist here. That's the logical thing to do, right? So I start making a checklist, doing what I'm supposed to do. Collect all personal belongings from the wardrobe and the bedside stand, and make a note on DD form 4983 revision 3. Check. Collect any pharmaceuticals. Note them on DD form 894 and return them to the pharmacy. Check. Remove any rings, watches, eyeglasses from the body. I look over at the old man. I don't see any rings. I don't see any watches. I know somehow I should pull the cover back to check, but I'm not going there. Check. Collect all the personal belongings in one or more personal bags and return them to patient administration. So I gather things up. 2 plastic bags, 2 little plastic bags. This is all that's left of this life. I walk to the door and I have this feeling I've overlooked something. But what? I did everything logically. I didn't overlook anything. But I set them down, the bags down on the floor, and I turn around and I look at this old man once more. And I walk over to him. And I sit down, I pull up a chair, and I sit down. And I actually reach out and I touch that emaciated arm. And I'm startled at the warmth that's still there from this recently departed life. And as I look at his face, I suddenly have this image. I'm seeing the end credits of a movie. What was in your movie, old man? Were you a veteran of the Second World War? What battlefield horrors did you see? Did you have a wife that loved you? Did you have children that depended on you? And then the question started being focused on myself and my movie. Why is it that you always have to be right? Why do you have to always win an argument? Always need to be the boss? Why do you make work a priority over home? And then, the worst question of all. Roger, when you're laying here like this old man, what's going to be in your movie credits? Will any of that stuff that you think is so important matter? There's no answer. Just deathly quiet. And bang! The orderly comes into the room pulling a gurney, and he's really surprised. And, oh, excuse me, sir. I didn't realize you were still here. I can't, there's tears in the corners of my eyes. He's kind enough not to notice. See, it's all right, Sergeant. I'm finished now. You may take the body. And I walk over and I pick up those 2 bags again, and I walk out into that empty, garishly lit hall, and I head to patient administration, and that question follows me. Roger, when your time comes to be laying in a bed like that old man, will any of this stuff that you think is so important matter? And my heart tells me, not a damn bit. But what do I do? It's my head that's gotten me this far in my life. But I sense in my heart that it's only my heart that's going to give me a chance to avoid that end. It was the start of a spiritual journey for me, and it's a path that I'm still on. Thank you.